Hello, welcome back to my channel Watchlist by Miss C. Those who are new, this channel is all about murder, mystery, true crime, historical events, and some celebrity gossips. Wink. I really need you guys' support. Hit the subscribe button right away and help this channel to grow. So, our today's video is about Rose Hall Greenhouse. This story is more about the White Witch of Rose Hall instead of Rose Hall itself. The story starts with Annie Palmer, who is the White Witch. So, Annie lived in Jamaica in the early 19th century. She was born in 1802 in England and her parents had middling wealth, but she was orphaned at a young age. And you guys know better what getting orphaned at a young age does to a person. She was raised by her nanny and schooled in the ways of voodoo magic, which she then adapted to fulfill her own purposes. Ooh, magic and wishes. Interesting. When Annie was in her late teens, she moved to Jamaica and used her skills, aka voodoo, to get herself a rich husband who is John Palmer, the owner of Rose Hall, which is a stately home and vast sugar plantation. She was malevolent, sadistic opportunist who tortured her slaves for fun, and guess what? She murdered not one but three of her husbands. Slaves were terrified of her and men were under her spell. There's no living portrait of her, but some people think the petite woman dressed in red might be her. Annie loved the color red. Another interesting story about her is that she never had children, but she was Annie, she had to do something. So she supposedly had this portrait painted to convince people that she was indeed the motherly type. But look closely at the children in the painting. Do they seem real? Don't they look like stiff and unnatural? Because they were actually dolls and not the real children. It is said that when you walk beneath this painting, you will notice that Annie's eyes follow you as you move. For she is still keeping watch on everything in the house. So, going back to the story, Annie Palmer received her karmic punishment. After killing three husbands and instigating a reign of terror, one of her former slaves named Taku or Teku decided he had enough. Teku was her former slave but then became her lover. He was very loyal to her and might have wanted to marry her, but Annie. She was Annie. How can she be loyal? She crossed the line as was expected and set her eyes on another guy named Robert. Now, Robert wasn't much interested in her, and Annie didn't like this. So, what would Annie do if she doesn't like anyone? Guess. She ended up killing someone, and who that someone is? Question mark. Plot twist. Robert was in love with a girl named Millicent, who was Taku's grand niece, and Annie killed Millicent because she wanted Robert. And now Taku is not much happy with Annie killing Millicent, and so he decides to avenge her niece's death. And he ends up strangling Annie in her bed. Bye bye, Annie Palmer. Some people believe that there's another story of how Annie died. It is said that Annie actually turned into different forms of animals every night and never slept in her own skin. Taku found out about this and poured black pepper on her skin. So when she tried to return in human form, the black pepper in her skin killed her. Bye bye, Annie. But in all these versions of her death, one thing is common, that Taku was the killer. Thank you, Taku. Anywho, Annie died, everyone is relieved, happy ending, but nope, not so fast. Annie's voodoo retained its power from beyond the grave. Soon after she died, she began to make ghostly appearances around Rose Hall, driving servants, guests, and residents mad with terror. Not long after, the house was abandoned and fell into ruin because no one but only Annie could ever be the true mistress of Rose Hall. There was one family who did try to live at Rose Hall in the early 1900s, but they were driven from the place when their maid was thrown from a second story balcony by an invisible set of hands. Annie, is that you? Not only this balcony was the site of the poor maid's death, but it was the very spot where Annie herself would stand to enjoy the view of her slaves being tortured, which occurred in the yard below. In 1960s, the Rose Hall was cleaned up, restored and revived for public use as a historic house and plantation. Surprisingly, Rose Hall is now a popular place for weddings, but just a stone's throw from where Annie rests quietly, but not so peacefully, in her grave. Bye bye. I hope you liked today's video. Do share it with your friends and hit the subscribe button, reminding you again, I really need your guys' support. Please like, share, and comment. And again, bye bye, Annie.